This lecture is going to be about skin disorders. One of the things that can impact human skin are burns. They are caused by heat, electricity, UV radiation, or chemicals, and it is tissue damage to the dermis and epidermis. Associated dangers of burns include dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, and circulatory shock. Burns can be fairly minor or they can be extremely extensive. The way to determine the extent of the burn is to divide the body into 11 areas that allow you to do a quick estimation. Each area is represented or represents about 9% of the total surface area of the body. In this diagram, you can see roughly how the body's surface is divided up into those different regions for a total of 100% of the body area. There's very much different degrees of severity for burns. So a first degree burn is the least severe type of burn. It's when only the epidermis is damaged and the skin gets a little bit red. Sometimes it can swell. One of the types of burns that's classified as a first degree burn is a sunburn. A second degree burn has damage to the epidermis and upper dermis. And so when this happens, the skin is red, but then it will also blister. So that's kind of the difference between first degree and second degree burns. First degree and second degree burns can be painful. And this is partly because you have a lot of nerve endings in your skin, and so when it gets damaged or disrupted, you definitely can feel that. A third degree burn destroys the entire skin layer. So sometimes these have to be repaired with grafts because the skin can't grow back. When a third degree burn occurs, the burned area is actually painless. And that's because most of those nerve endings have actually just been burned completely off. And third degree burns are gray or white or black. They don't have this reddish color any longer because there's been so much tissue damage. In these images, you can see first, second, and third degree burns. Notice the first degree burn, the skin is pink, but it's generally not particularly blistered. It can be sensitive to the touch and still painful, but it's not damaged down to a deeper layer. In a second degree burn, you can see there are blisters that form. You can actually get a second degree sunburn, and that is a very severe sunburn. And then third degree burns, right when they happen, you can see there's a lot of tissue damage here. They will eventually kind of turn that grayish black color because you've lost so much of the skin. Burns are considered critical if they cover over 25% of the body and it's a second degree burn or worse, or if it's 10% of the body and it's third degree burns. Or it's always a critical burn if you have a third degree burn on your face, hands, or feet. So critical burns definitely are burns that you should see a doctor for because they might need special treatment. When you have large areas of the skin damaged, it's easy to sustain infections, and so it needs to be headed off so that you don't end up with like a bad infection or gangrene or something like that. Skin can also have other types of damage. So some things might be infections, like athlete's foot, for example, is caused by a fungus, so that's a fungal infection. If you have a boil or a carbuncle, those are kind of like red sores and things like that. Those are caused by bacterial infections. And if you have a cold sore, that's caused by a virus. So different things can cause different types of infections on skin. Additional infections and allergies can be things like contact dermatitis. Contact dermatitis is caused by touching something. So it could be a reaction to a plant like poison ivy, or it could be caused by damage to the skin, but it's an inflammation of the dermis that's caused by contact with something. And if you have an extreme allergic reaction, for example, you can start to get hives or welts or boils, or your skin can pus and things like that. Impetigo is another infection also caused by bacteria. And then psoriasis is another skin condition. It's like a thickening of the skin because skin cells aren't shedding the way they're supposed to. The cause is unknown, but it's triggered by a variety of different things, including trauma, infection, and stress. Here you can see some examples of some different skin infections. So cold sores are caused by a virus, impetigo is caused by a bacteria, and psoriasis is caused or is triggered rather by like things like stress, but it does not have a known cause. Skin can also develop cancer, and so it's when you have an abnormal cell mass, right? And typically cancers divide more quickly or grow more quickly than other types of cells. They are classified in a couple ways. So benign tumors are not tumors that are spreading. So they're encapsulated, they don't go anywhere, they're easy to remove. And then that's contrasted with malignant tumors. They're metastatic, meaning that they can move to other parts of the body. And skin cancer is, in fact, the most common type of cancer. There are several different types of skin cancer, and they're labeled as such because of the type of cell that leads to the tumor. So a basal cell carcinoma arises from the stratum basale. It's the least malignant type of cancer and also the most common, which is kind of nice because it's very easily treated. So in this picture, you can see this small growth is the basal cell carcinoma. A squamous cell carcinoma can metastasize to the lymph nodes if they're not removed, but the early removal allows for a good chance of a cure. These tend to be sun-induced, scientists think, and they arise from a different layer in the skin. They arise from the stratum spinosum. So in this image, you can see this is what the squamous cell carcinoma looks like, a little bit different than the first type. Another type of skin cancer is malignant melanoma. It's the most deadly of cancers, or skin cancers, and it is because you have melanocytes that have mutated to become cancerous. These metastasize rapidly, which is why it's the most deadly of the different types of skin cancers. And so it can travel to your lymph nodes and through your blood vessels more quickly than some of the other types of cancer. As noted on the previous slide, it can be kind of graded by this ABCD rule. So A is asymmetry. So if you have a part of your skin that, like a mole or something, that has two sides of pigmented moles and they don't match, that's something you might want to have a doctor look at. If it has a border irregularity, so like normally if you have a mole or something and it has a nice smooth border, if it starts to get kind of a wavy border, then you might want to have it looked at. If the color of the pigment changes, that's something that's important to have checked out. And if you have something that's larger than 6 millimeters, so that means that it's over half a centimeter in size, you should have let a doctor look at it. And in this image, you can see the melanoma. So this is a fairly large one. You can see it's over a centimeter long. And so that should be definitely looked at by a doctor and it should be removed.